Important situation here for Team Secrecy. The desk believing in Secrecy that they can do it over Penta Sports. I'm excited to see how it's going to go. Let's get into the game. It's Leaf and Lawler going to be taking us through the action. Guys, take it away.
Yeah, this is going to be a very, very polarizing match. I mean, just sitting on the sidelines there and watching what just happened, I went and looked some things up too. Secrecy seemed to be giving up a lot of goals.
Yeah.
I looked 55% against scoring average. That's not very good. You're letting half the shots on your net into the net, and it showed that time. But Shogun also brought up a really good point that their opponents now have a sub. You should be able to, even letting in those goals, win this match.
Well, it's so crucial, too. Pondex was their MVP last week. Popped off completely. Went out of his mind in his play, and now that player is gone. Someone on this team has to step up. Maybe that's going to be Mummy Snow. He has a chance and that opportunity to make a move here. The benefit of coming in is these guys haven't seen him play before. But the downfall of that is I don't think their own team has seen him play before with that roster. So
yeah, you're right. I mean, like they're not warmed up. I mean, you have Penta that's now 0-2. Their original roster wasn't doing it. Do you just start switching up? I mean, that's the beauty of subs is you have someone in the back that you can throw in if things just aren't going your way. I mean, anything can change. We've seen teams go great in week 1, and then in a week 2 with the same roster, just be incredible or start being bad, right? So things can really change, and it's hard to tell if you want to start switching players out at this point. I mean, we know a couple teams out there, especially with Pluto being on one of those as a sub. That's a solid guy to be able to throw in at any chance, but do you throw them is the question.
Yeah, it's more so a matter of having to respect that player when it comes down to that. Like when you talk and you mentioned Pluto, you have to respect him as a player because he's been here for so long. Obviously, we haven't gotten that from Mummy, but that's going to determine how this game goes. If they come out striking on all cylinders, like I think last week they had 40 shots, I think, for the weekend, and they scored 11 goals. So they came out firing. Like they had a ton of shots, but that's because of the opportunities that they had with Pondex. So it'll be he's got a lot of he's got some shoes to fill, man.
You're right. I've heard from a lot of people actually say that Pone can be a guy to really be that catalyst on offense. Be able to set up when he's on, he can carry almost anybody. I've heard that, but I didn't see that last week. And it's like, how do you really trust on the consistency of that? It's like, is this going to be a consistent thing where we can't determine, or will he, for a majority of the time, be on?
Yeah, it's a difficult situation, but I mean, you got to give it to Secrecy too. I mean, they just battled they were up, looked like they had it, and the real benefit to that team is their pass play. Shogun mentioned it. If they don't have those pass plays going, they're going to be in trouble, but when they connect, it is dangerous. That pass play that came down was a pass over to, I think it was a lot, and he screamed it into the net. That's the stuff that they do so very well.
Well, we're going to find this again. As we just discussed here and they did on the desk, this could be either way. Both these teams really need wins at this point. I mean, week 1 and 2 are so important to determine your position on those standings and really determine where you're going to be. And this will be an important match as Team Secrecy and Penta Sports drop down into game number 1 in a best of 5 in week number 2 for EU RLCS Season 3 League play. As already off the bat, Penta looking to try to capitalize on an early goal, first 15 seconds in. A lot was able to save that one out, but the pressure has not stopped yet. Relentless is Killer number 7. Last week, we saw Killer on offense a lot. He was the fire, the spark to make sure these plays started up.
Well, it looks like Penta's going to be aggressive here starting early on. Already tons of shots coming in, but spacing doesn't seem to be an issue so far. It looks like it's going to be something that we're going to see develop as the course of this game progresses.
Yeah, I mean, the feelers are always out right at the beginning, and that's always the story of game number 1, especially if a team hasn't played yet. And Penta coming in cold on this one. Secrecy does have a bit of a warm-up, and they had a little bit of break there between their last match to hopefully get some things sorted out from that last reverse sweep. That weighs heavy on your mind. Shots, though, really coming out strong from both teams early on here, but I mean, Penta seems to still be in full control, and that's rough for Secrecy, especially as we said, they just came off of a loss, a reverse sweep, to be specific. With the back and forths, as they try to get the play started up, I expect Killer number 7, once he can get into that drive at the midfield to start that offense, you're going to see Penta putting a lot of pressure on Secrecy, and that's bad, especially with that not so good against average for letting goals in. They need to make sure they're not in their own net, and as I talk about it, look at it, 2 defenders in the net and neither one is going to stop this shot.
Yeah, a lot of it has to do with the contesting, but kudos to Mummy Snow playing that. You see Magnus with a terrible touch, to be completely honest. He plays that a little bit too hard and plays it out in front of him. No one able to make control of that and just gives it away right in front of his own net. Easy shot for Penta to strike first.
Well, that's an answer.
It's one way to rebuttal it.
I was just trying to wait to see what was going to happen there. I'm like, that looks like a kickoff goal, and it was, and that popped up. Unfortunate for Killer.
Yeah, a lot of it has to do, when we talk about cheating up on the kickoff, basically shadowing your teammate to make sure that as soon as that ball gets cut out of that 50-50, you're there to respond, but unfortunately he cuts it in too hard. And he does try to fix it. You know, you saw him jump into it, and it just bounces back up and leaves a shot.
It's rough. I mean, that was on Killer's side, but Mets had a lot. Making a goal to make up for that bit of defensive error on that first one. We've seen him be able to get quite a few good angles before.
Well, Magnus in perfect position on that, too. As soon as that clear comes up from Freaky, he's already on that wall and plays it back inside to his teammate.
2-1 now, a lead for Team Secrecy. We're just under 2 minutes into this first match. We see 3 goals already.
Oh, my goodness.
4 goals already. As we tie it up between these two teams.
Good to know your NA math isn't hurting you too bad. Able to count? Proud of you?
I mean, it counted for me on the screen.
Well, I'm glad you can read that.
Look at that, already tied up. This is back and forth. EU defense lull, but I mean, Penta, they already off the bat, they were putting on a lot of offense, and I mean, all they have to do is really find those spots where that defense for Team Secrecy is leaving holes open, because there has been a lot as they've been able to answer quite quickly. But already going the other way, Team Secrecy trying to set up another play to pull themselves back into the lead. They liked where they were before. Magnus will have to back off 2. Moving forward hard now. Pumped a little bit high. Mummy leaving the fake, drops it for a teammate. Killer opts to back off. Freaky will push to the side instead. We'll have a chance for Team Secrecy to break it on their end, but look at Killer and Mummy already on an attack again. They converted that one quickly without having to go back to defense. Freaky holding that midline. Will single-handedly move this one up. Can't get a drop down on it. Mummy, weak shot, will give Magnus and Mets a chance to move up together. A deadly duo, but on his way back, Freaky buys his team some time. In front of the net, Killer can't get the pass, but a lot was going to get it to Freaky instead. Does get intercepted by his own teammates, though. Lot not having a front on that one. Mets has a chance to redirect. A little bit off on that. The pass, coming in a little bit too hard.
They're doing a really good job of seeing each other. Another one as well. And that's something that Shogun, like I said, mentioned on the desk. If these guys can see each other and be having that awareness, as long as they can maintain that possession and keep those passes, the pressure from Secrecy may overwhelm Penta.
Oh, Freaky with a shot, trying to squeak one in just under that upper 90. It does get stopped out by a lot as it moves back down to midfield. They can't really transition that into any kind of offense. They will find themselves back on their own end, but they have to make sure to get there in time. Killer a little bit wide on that one. So is his teammate. Freaky trying to set up another one for Killer. He shoots that one wide, at least making connection with this one to the far side. Mummy trying to recenter that one. And I like to see Mummy always in the right spot, working well with Killer on the offense right now. And they are setting up a lot of plays.
Needs to be careful, though. They're overlapping with Freaky pretty hard here.
I think that's why Freaky, you see him a lot of the times playing that footsie at midfield. As long as he can keep that presence of mind to make sure to let those guys do what they need to do on offense, I think Penta should be fine. But with the final minute of gameplay, we are still tied up. Neither one of these teams being able to find a lead for very long. Those gaps were closed very quickly in either direction. Now chance for Team Secrecy. We haven't seen them on offense quite often here. And they quickly give up that chance. Magnus will try to set up another. To a lot, back to Magnus, a shot right into 2 defenders, but there's a third in. Mets off the backboard. Mummy with a nice touch to the side, making sure his teammates have time to rotate on defense. Freaky loses control of this. He will at least get boosted up with another chance to clear this one, but Mets moving in hard. Don't think he has a teammate to help him out there. Pressure will alleviate a little bit now in the final 18 seconds of gameplay. In game number 1, as Penta is stopping off this onslaught from Secrecy. They're trying to make one last-ditch effort here to avoid an overtime. A lot leaves it from Magnus. Mets trying to recorrect this one. Can't get any kind of control with his car. Mummy, one last-ditch attempt to move that down the field. It will drop to the ground into an overtime in game number 1.
Good job by Penta holding off that aggression as well and just letting it kill. Being aware of that clock management. They don't want to force anything getting popped up because you saw how good the Secrecy team is in the air.
While we hit an overtime in game number 1, 2-2 between Team Secrecy and Penta Sports, best of 5. Team Secrecy just coming off a loss in the series before, going to a game number 5. I have a feeling this one's going to end up in that position as well. Maybe not a reverse sweep, but a game 5 for sure. Almost a squeaker there by Killer as he gets a pinch towards the net. Look at the offense from Penta right now. May eventually break down if Team Secrecy can't find any chance to really break out and counterattack. That's going to be in front of the net with no one home. Freaky puts her away.
Yeah, a lot of it has to do with this pass play here. You see him going up preemptively, trying to clear that downfield, but Killer waiting for it patiently, brings it up, and then gets another quick touch off the wall. Plays with good pace inside to Freaky, closing them out. Team and game 1 going to Penta Sports.
Yeah, and I mean, as close as it was there, a lot of the times it felt like Team Secrecy had a little bit of a run back to their own net situation. I mean, on offense, we had, again, it was Killer and Mummy. We're doing a very good job working that offense. Freaky playing a very strong support role.
Right.
Anytime he needed to be in there as a third, he was there and in the right spot. You said you saw a little bit of overlapping. I honestly think it cleared up a lot near the end. A little bit more tightness when it comes to at least hitting the ball from Killer, I'd like to see. I like his aggression, and I like that he's on offense. He's ambitious. Couple more tight touches, and they had a lot of opportunities, a lot of shots on net. And Team Secrecy is leaving way too many open nets.
Yeah, I agree with you there. They're committing a little bit too hard, but I mean, that's kudos to Penta. They're doing a really good job of counterattacking. As soon as the ball's pushed in, and the times that Secrecy does have those passes on, you saw it in roughly the last 30-ish seconds as that clock was winding down, where there was constant shots coming from Secrecy. Penta was struggling, but they get a counter, they push it out, and then they control and punish you for it. And it works out really well. We talk about how someone needed to move up and basically fill in those shoes for Pondex, and Freaky's doing just that. He had a hat trick last game.
Yeah, I mean, as I said, Freaky, honestly, one of the most solid-looking players on the field right now. Very consistent, and as long as they can hold that through, all they have to do is win by 1. I mean, you don't need to win by 100 million goals. 1 will get you the win, and if Secrecy keeps leaving those open nets, you're going to have probably more goals.
I forget what the statistic was. It was something like the first week of league play, out of the like 20-some games that were played, 23 of them, I think it was like 27 games were played or something like that, and 23 of them were decided by 1 goal difference. Like, it's something ridiculous.
That's ridiculous. I mean, honestly, and I love it. Coming into Season 3 of the RLCS, all these teams are actually really close. I mean, it
makes predictions so difficult. Like, we're
so
all sitting back, like, freaking out.
Difficult at this point. But it's incredible because we're just seeing the skill level increase every single time we come back on screen here, and I love it. But we are down into game number 2 of Team Secrecy versus Penta. Both teams working on getting that first play started up. First game going to Penta Sports, as Team Secrecy looking for a point in the league play right now. Off the bat, we have a lot of attacks coming up from Penta. A demo here should give chance for Team Secrecy to move away, but Killer by himself, I said before, loving to set up those plays for his teammates. Freaky trying, knowing that his teammate would be back on a respawn. Another demo. This looks to be like a North American team here. We've seen a lot of aggression from them, but Team Secrecy taking that tactic into their hands, and that might be what they need to turn this one around.
Yeah, Secrecy, although doing a much better job on rotations this game on defense, you see him swinging through and just clearing that downfield immediately. They don't want to get basically collapsed on by this Penta team, because the aggression is showing, as you stated. Demo's only going to help out with that.
Unless it's a pile of pillows, I don't want anything collapsing on me. Hopefully not. Won't happen to Team Secrecy, as Penta may be able to get another win here if they can get this goal earlier on and just hold off onto it. But as you said, Team Secrecy doing a very good job of holding off right now, looking a lot stronger on the field. And that could be a chance right there. That's going to be an open net. Penta taking one out of Secrecy's book and leaving a wide open net.
As clear as day on this map. Huge mistake coming out from Penta. Just a big whiff flying across.
Huge whiff.
Good to see a lot. Too many times. Like, sometimes the open nets are the hardest ones to hit. Just takes his time and puts it straight on net.
I'm pretty sure if you looked at a majority of players, like, shooting percentage when they had an open net, it would actually be surprisingly low.
It's just a lot of pressure, man.
It's pressure, man. Oh, I'm going to miss. Thankfully, a lot didn't miss for his team. Team Secrecy now up 1-0 in the series. Nope, they tied it up. We've seen a lot of quick answers between these two teams specifically.
It's what makes these games so close, too. Eventually, you see a snowball effect happen, but both teams doing a phenomenal job. You saw Secrecy do it last game with a quick response, but Penta answering themselves very quickly. But 1-1, like you said, this is game number 2, 3 minutes left on the board.
We'll see now if another goal will come out to bring Team Secrecy into the lead. They're taking turns of back and forth on goals right now. Both players in the air missing that one. Give a chance for a lot to chip it back down into offense, but he doesn't have a teammate with him. There's Magnus finally boosted up. Coming from the far side, out to a lot. Can he get another touch? The Mets! What an incredible play,
I
but
can't believe that hit the crossbar.
Finish off right. Oh my goodness.
Oh my God,
They're still
what?
trying though. Killer struggling to keep this one on the net. Still there. Magnus doing everything he can to get this play started up. All three teammates from Secrecy on that offense. It could have been dangerous, but it was so close to going in.
Kudos to Penta for holding that one off, and the response almost coming out.
Yeah, as they turn this one around quickly, we'll see if they can put one in. They get broken up quickly, though, as they don't have quite a tight-knit passing play in the box there, as Team Secrecy did. Penta thrown back to the midfield. Freaky with a chance, though. One-on-one situation. He has Killer now to support him. Mummy also pushing up on that one.
Really smart 50-50 contest there from a lot as well. Doesn't waste any time. He realizes that he's got a defender back on defense, and rather than letting that dribble come out, immediately contest it, works out in their favor, and they're able to clear it out. Dangerous position, handled well.
Ball not touching the ground in 4 touches here. Mummy lets it there for a power chip. A follow-up of himself a little awkward off the roof. He'll be out of the play. Freaky, Killer take control of this in their own end. Good read from Metz, is able to send that one out to Magnus, but a little bit too fast. He has to push that to the side, to a lot. Off the side. And that'll be in the hands now of Penta as they move back down the other way of the field. Ooh, Mummy in a bad spot. There could be a chance for Magnus and Metz. If Magnus can get that out to Metz. A play, no flick from the Batmobile in the hands of Mummy as he creeps through, almost sneaking past that last defender a lot. He does read that right and gets a nose on it. Plays are starting to develop here for Penta, but we come into that final minute of gameplay, and we're still tied up. Again, you said it, a lot of these games decided by 1 goal, and we're not seeing any kind of difference, and that's a statistic here.
Oh, what a save by Mummy, and shout-outs to Mummy in general. For him to come in at this kind of audience with this kind of pressure, he's handling himself very composed.
I think he's happy to be here, and honestly, he's looking really comfortable on the field.
Another fantastic clear.
A lot of times when people aren't comfortable on the field, you see them play way too defensively, and that's not what Mummy is doing.
No, I think that has to do with Penta as a team, though. They're allowing him to play like that. They're giving him that ability to gain confidence, and it's showing as another save from Mummy.
Almost getting the shot on. Good play from him, but even better save from Mummy as he's able to stop that one out. Killer getting in front of that attacker there as a lot tries to put one on target. Last defender, Magnus, has a 2-on-1 situation. That's rough. Freaky couldn't get the touch there. He'll have to back off. Still chance to make sure this doesn't go to overtime for Penta, but a drop down. Good read from Metz. We hit our 2nd overtime in this series alone.
Fantastic, and a very, yet again.
Oh!
Okay, Metz, good rotation.
We already saw a kickoff goal earlier on in the series. They almost got another one. That's a great chance. If you can get a cheat up, the momentum can be shifted any direction off those kickoffs. Speaking of momentum shift, we have Team Secrecy moving back down the other way, but 50-50s galore right now for Penta as they're winning those ones. Off the backboard, Freaky waiting to see if a lot would miss that, but he didn't. Keeping them on offense. Good job, and look at Killer, ready for that touch, trusting, knowing that Mummy was moving back to midfield for boost. They're able to keep that pressure on. A fake there. We've seen a few of those from Mummy in front of the net. Magnus struggling to keep possession of that one. They need a hard clear. Secrecy needs to move this one out. They finally do, but they do lose control. Can they regain it? Yes, a shot on net.
No!
Mummy, unfortunately, making a little bit of a mistake on defense, and that's going to Secrecy.
Yet again, the Secrecy team so comfortable and early on those walls. Ball gets cleared out and in good position too, just immediately stuffed right back. And then, as you stated, a mistake on defense plaguing this team. They tie up the series 1-1.
Both Metz and Magnus have been doing a very good job of reading things off the wall. They know where a lot of these shots are going, and Penta's going to have to change it up a bit if they want to find themselves more confidently on offense. I mean, again, they're still doing a good job. And I said it before, Killer and Mummy, I like them on offense. Freaky, though, having to do a little bit more work than I think he really should be for his team at this point, and a little more tightening up. Penta's looking great, but we said it. I mean, this could go to a game number 5. Secrecy barely pulling that one out. I mean, there were a lot of chances for both teams, really, on some sketchy defense. I mean, I think Penta had that one on offense where Secrecy struggled to keep that one, or was it the other way?
I would have to say it's the other way. Secrecy alone had, 14 shots they're looking at compared to 5. Still, the shots that came from Penta were dangerous. Like, there was a lot of those, like that play in front of their net that they were able to hold off, I think really changed the story, too. I mean, this game could have been a lot different in goals for Secrecy if they were able to secure a couple of those. But that's kudos to Penta's defense. Despite that being in a very dangerous spot, we saw it a couple times yesterday where people were just dribbling in front of their nets and getting punished for it. These guys are able to handle that pressure pretty well, but it's a matter of transitioning it, like we said, onto offense. The couple times that they did, it got shut down pretty quickly.
Well, we're coming into a game number 3 between Team Secrecy and Penta Sports. First game going to Penta, but Secrecy grabbing a point in the series themselves in that last game that we just watched. Again, I'm expecting a game number 5. I'd love a game number 5, more Rocket League, the better. But these teams only being both of these games decided by 1 goal so far, but both in overtime as well. That'd actually be incredible if we get every single game. I don't know if that's been done before. Every game overtime.
I don't think so. It's been close, though, in a couple. I think like 3 out of 5 is our record.
Well, you guys have a chance to set history right now. Secrecy and Penta. Let's see what you're going to pull out. Off the bat, we've had 2 shots now. On target, stopped out by the defense. Barely, but that one will not be stopped as Metzenaars does finally find a hole in the Penta defense.
Yeah, great rotation coming in as that third man for Metza. You see this pass played up by a lot. And as you see Magnus rotating back for boost. Metza comes in, sweeps in, puts a good shot on net, just catches the defense off guard.
Only 30 seconds in. It feels like it's been a bit longer than that, but it hasn't, as the scoreboard indicates. 30 seconds in, Secrecy grabbing that lead early on, but we know how quickly. We've seen a lot of these goals quickly turn around, and Penta already looking to do that as Freaky sets it up for Mummy. Oh, what a save. Just keeping that one out of the reach of Mummy. That would have been one of those quick answers we've seen before, but they're not done yet. Look at that quick turnaround from Freaky and Killer. Off the backboard, Magnus almost dropping into his own net, but it did scare off the attackers, and that's all that really matters. Oh, no. Killer almost squeaking it by again. Look at this attack non-stop from Penta, and you said it, low boost. This is tough to break out of when you have that offense pushing so hard. This is finally their chance. I think, no, 50-50 from Killer, and it hasn't left their box for more than 30 seconds at this point.
This is so good by Penta as well, because when they play fast like this, not only do they get the pressure that we're talking about with these shots, but it keeps this team at bay because they're able to contain the boost. There again, 2 more boost pickups on the favor.
Chance now. If Mummy can push this one hard, the flick a little bit wide, but it looks like Team Secrecy, as they did leave their own zone for a second, should be boosted up and ready to move out. As long as Magnus can face the right way and get a clear here. That was their final, their one chance to break out, but now Killer might be able to put it in. No, he loses that one. And finally, Team Secrecy breaking out of their end.
I watched all that, and the only one who had full boost was Mets. I don't know how they survived that.
It was tough. Well, I think they also had a bit of the offense struggling to get the boost pads. But that's exactly why they're able to stay on offense, is they were doing a good job of grabbing those boost pads. But you can't do much without a full boost. But, I mean, a pretty good attack and show from both teams during that display back there about a minute ago. Team Secrecy still in the lead as that first half of the match has transpired in quite a fun fashion. Good passing play on offense. Killer trying to get the block. Seen that one fly past him. He'll be out of the play. 2 defenders left. Mummy will flank in for a touch on a lot. Trying to take control. Killer bumped out of the way. Mummy last defender as Magnus and Metz creep around for a team play. There's a pass up front, but Magnus backs up, and that'll be Killer with the possession. Towards the other end, almost the read to dunk on Magnus. Secrecy back onto offense, creating an attack. Magnus can't get the pass he wanted to by a lot. As he goes out of the play, Metz, the last defender, also out of the play. A lot of weird stuff going on between both those teams at the midfield. Neither one of those teams creating anything out of that. It'll be into the hands of Penta as they put an attack here. Killer can't create anything.
No, this looks, no offense to our region, but it's starting to look like NA Rocket League right now. There's just no control on either side of the field right now. They're just kind of hitting it to get it out. Want to see those pass plays develop again, and I think if one of these teams just slows it down, like Mummy, good example for it there, doesn't win the contest, but slows it down trying to get past one, just maintain possession for a little bit and get that ball rolling again.
Have some control over it, you're absolutely right. Freaky got a lot of power off that touch as he went straight up into the air. Try to set it up for his teammate. Killer trying to keep the pressure on. We know that they can do this. There it could be if Killer can get a touch out to Mummy. He was ready for that one. Mummy will have to move in instead into the corner. Rotation coming in strong right now from Penta, but a missed touch from Freaky. Good recovery, though, as he gets that one out to Killer. I thought that was going the other way. What a recovery for Freaky to be able to get that pass.
Yeah, he mistouches it like you said there, but because he lands correctly, maintains his momentum, goes up the wall, and then actually back passes it in favor of his team that allows that shot to happen in the first place. And to tie it up with a minute left, like...
Well, it wasn't a quick answer, but it was an answer nonetheless, and that's all that matters. As you said, as we come into that final minute of gameplay, it's a lot easier being all tied up than trailing behind a goal and having to struggle pushing everything onto offense. Now they can just play their game at their pace, and hopefully it'll work out for them, but Team Secrecy looking to get that lead back. Trying to break out of their own end. Magnus will be the one to do that as he throws that deep. His teammates are ready, but a nice hard clear from Mummy sets that back to midfield. Last defender, Magnus trying to set a play up off the backboard. Freaky, maintaining composure, is able to kill that play. 20 seconds left now. Both teams trying to set up a play. Secrecy been on offense a little bit more than Penta in that final minute of gameplay. That might not be good unless Penta can get a play started up. Magnus, a nice touch to the far end will give his team a chance to push themselves on offense, but a 50-50 going in the favor of Penta. They move that one quickly down the other way. Magnus off the backboard will drop that one a lot, will leave it as they go into a third overtime in a row in this series. Game number 3. Third overtime, Team Secrecy, Penta Sports.
Well, it looks like we're going to see yet another game decided by one goal, which is pretty stressful. I mean, you saw both of these teams actually play against Kaunos last week and convincingly lost, Secrecy did, to them, while Penta was able to come out in the full distance of 5. It just goes to show how competitive this scene really is. These guys, like you said, overtime every single game, decided within 1. Just unbelievable.
30 seconds into overtime now. One of these teams about to set them at match point as they both have a point in this series, this best of 5. And that's going to be the point for Team Secrecy as they were trailing a point in the series, now up 2 games.
I'm assuming this was a communication call. You see Magnus ready to take the touch, and I don't know if that was just like a cheeky fake or what, but a wide open net. Alot has the entire goal to choose, and he places that bottom left across the momentum of that teammate. Now up on match point for Secrecy.
As you said, at match point, but again, we see games be very close, and it's really hard to predict at this point, especially when every single game has been decided by 1 goal so far. 3 overtimes now in this series, and this really honestly could go either way. Sometimes you'll see a team start to gain momentum, start to steamroll one way, get a few more goals in the next few matches. That hasn't happened yet. Both these teams have been very close, and as we said, overtime. That's as close as it gets when you're playing Rocket League. And honestly, still hard to really predict. Penta's looking strong, but again, I'm going to say it as I said in the last match. I think Freaky's having to do a little bit more work than he should be for his team at this point.
I mean, saves across the board are pretty even, like you stated. Things just felt really timid that match. Like, these guys are like, okay, I have no idea what to do to beat this team, so let's just not do anything, I guess. Like, they both sat around and hit the ball and played car ball, but nothing really like that we expect out of EU teams. Usually we see really fast plays and like great passing and stuff, and it fell apart last game. So whoever can gain their footing, I think, can really control. Like you said, whoever gains that snowball momentum, like if they win games by more than a goal, that's my favorite to win. I know that sounds very like obvious, like John Madden kind of style, but in reality, like if someone goes up by a couple goals, I think they're gonna then push that into their favor for the game afterwards if they need to.
Well, I mean, Team Secrecy has a bit of a upper hand in the fact that they now are at match point, but that could be detrimental. We talked about complacency yesterday during NA. It's especially what we see during a lot of these reverse sweeps, is that you can kind of give up a lot of that pressure, and as soon as you do, the skill of the other team is going to start to show. Well, we're going to see if Penta can pull this one up. They lost the last one. They have the advantage on the side of being able to analyze what happened in the last one and make the corrections they need to. Off the bat, already put it on attack. Killer out of boost, won't be able to do anything with that one. Got to be a chance down the other end. Mets will have to back off of that one a lot, forced into a 50-50 or a shadow. Opts for the shadow instead and lets Mets flank in from the far side. Mummy, patience. That could be in his hand if he can get it up quick. Mets will get a bit more speed on it, get to it first. Magnus can't do much with that one. These guys have to be careful in the corner here that they don't overcommit too many players. Penta looking a little bit desperate at this point as they know that they are on match point. One goal can spell it all. One goal has been the decider between the last 3 games.
You see these teams, though, doing a much better job contesting at the midfield. A lot faster. Mummy, though, trying to go for this slow play, and I enjoy it, but very, very dangerous on that side of the net as it throws possession back in favor of Secrecy.
Oh, Freaky with a chance now if he can keep this one low, but he gives away possession instead of trapping that one. Now we're seeing a bit of this thing we like to call ping pong. Now the team really wanting to commit to holding possession, just getting out of their own end and trying to let their teammates set something up. That's why we see a lot of this back and forth. We'll see if Mummy can take control. Up for killer shot on net. Stopped out by the defenders. Finally an attack for Penta. They've been stuck on their own end for about 1.5 minutes. With 3 minutes left, they are going to have to start creating some more opportunities if they want to bring this into a game number 5. That's a pass to Magnus. Stopped by the defense of Penta. Mummy off the wall, but a whiff there will set Freaky again once. Trying to pull up that rear. He has to back off, though, for boost as the ball goes into the hands of Metsanaris. Magnus there to back him up. A lot for the shot. Underneath, trying to drop that one down. Good save from the defender. Both sides doing a good job of playing now. 2 defenders back. That'll stop Freaky on the attack. That leaves Mummy and Killer in the back. And that's a rough spot. Killer misses. Last defender, Mummy, puts that in an awkward spot. Freaky taking control of this one. Has to steal away Killer. Good awareness, and I like Killer for the fact that he's really good at turning around quickly.
Yeah, using that power slide to drift and get around to get a ball touch out in their area. Just these shots are getting difficult, and for one of these teams, like, the opportunity is presenting himself. As soon as this ball gets in their zone, they're clearing it, like you said, quickly. That ping pong action, just flying that down the field. If someone collapses and commits to it, they have a chance, but once again, it leaves them in a position of weakness. Just a matter of who does it better.
That's a rough spot. Mummy trying to find a little bit of a needle thread there. Quickly turned around by Mets, but no teammates there to help him out. That drops down a Freaky shot. Back and forth, both teams getting a shot on net. Rough spot now for the defense of TS, but they do maintain control as Penta backed off quickly. Freaky taking his time here. Knows he has a teammate to pass it to, but a miss there from his teammate. Mummy will go flying out of the play, leaving Secrecy on the attack still. There's a chance. Mets a little bit wide on the shot. A lot to pull up the rear. Sets someone up for Magnus. He just tries to at least get a 50-50, keeping the pressure on for his team. As Penta struggling now on defense to keep this one away. And miss from Mummy. Sets him out of the play. A chance there for a bounce shot. 2 Mets. The pass, play, and it's in, but only 1 goal. But also only 1 minute left.
After 3 minutes and almost 45 seconds, we finally see our first goal, and it comes from finally someone seeing consistent pressure on their side. Team Secrecy doing a really good job of rotating and pressuring, and it finally pays off for them.
Minute left now. We have Penta sitting at do or die. Team Secrecy has 2 points in this series against Penta, and that'll leave Team Secrecy with a win if they can hold off against any kind of attack from Penta here, which they're already doing a good job of. A lot trying to be a nuisance. Killer will break it past them. A goal can happen at any second. And even with 0 seconds, we can get all tied up if that ball is still in the air. Mummy maybe should have opted for a back pass. He misses it instead to Mets a lot as they try to set up a play for Magnus. Last defender, Mummy, can he get it to Freaky? Freaky having to back off, reading the bounce properly off the backboard. Killer needs to get up quick. If he wants a 50-50, leaves it for Magnus instead. Now he's boosted up, but also the last defender, a hard clear coming up from Secrecy. That's going to leave Penta set up back in their own end. Freaky trying to dribble it, but doesn't get it. His teammates expecting that to work out, try to push forward, but that's all you can do at this point. You have to put everything into offense. As we hit that final 10 seconds of gameplay, that's a rough spot now for Penta, as they can't break out of their own end. One final chance here for them if they keep possession.
Oh, that's a
Freaky
danger spot.
has to go up for it. Still a chance if Mummy can get a touch, but that's going to drop down Freaky can't keep it alive, and Team Secrecy grabbing themselves a point in the leaderboard. We'll take that one against Penta.
Well played by Secrecy at the end there as well. We saw those big clears really coming into play that match. No one really wanted it on their side and just threw away possession immediately. But the few times that Secrecy was able to maintain possession on the offensive side of the field, it benefited them. They finally squeaked a goal out of it after trying to have, I think it was 9 shots. Math. I did it. Thanks. Thanks, Leaf.
Congratulations. But yeah, that was, I mean, there was a point there where it kind of got rough for both teams. I mean, I think they all expected each other to do great things, and when they weren't, they were all caught out of position in weird spots. And we saw this point where I think all of them just were kind of watching what was going on with the ball. We saw really slow offensive passes in the opponent's box. It was weird play, but in the end, Team Secrecy came out on top. Congrats to them. And Penta will have to try again in the future. But speaking of the future, back to Wavepunk.
Thanks so much, Leaf. We are the future over here at the desk. It feels good to know that. And yeah, well done by Secrecy to get their first win here in the European Elite Play.
Very big win for them here.
Yes.
They needed that desperately. 0-2, and playing against a sub team, they lose game 1 that was overtime, and I was like, uh-oh, maybe they might just tilt off the face of the earth. But no, they came back and fought strong.
Yeah, especially after that first game, we both kind of looked at each other and just went, oh no, is this really happening? But they managed to come back into it. I would definitely say, though, Magnus, congratulations. You managed to win an entire series without scoring a goal.
Yeah,
that's quite impressive.
He only had 2 assists on the 7 goals, so not getting a lot done there. He did have the most shots, so he's putting on some pressure, but a lot of that didn't lead to a lot of goals. And that's been Secrecy's problem. They put on a ton of pressure, but it wasn't resulting in goals, and then they just give away freebies because they have so much pressure up front that they have no one back to do anything, and that's how Penta was scoring quite a few of their goals.
It's actually a weirder issue than that. From what I've noticed is a lot of the goals they concede are from 50-50s in the middle ground. What happens is they get a hold of the ball and they're so preemptive at just moving themselves forward, get everyone forward now, go, go, go. They haven't actually got the ball in their possession, not actually in a decent position to do offense. And that is what costs them quite often, but in this game, didn't end up biting them too hard.
And for a lot, too, week 1, didn't play that well. I thought he played pretty well during the first series of the day, and he does it again here. He's getting involved more on the offensive side, which is good to see because they need all 3 of them clicking at a time. We had Metz and Mog were kind of that duo on that team, and a lot, like as long as he plays well, Secrecy can go far. And they played pretty well today. They probably should have won that first series as well. They're probably kicking themselves about that, but at least they get 1 win, and they're not without a win.
So they get the win here. They're now 1-2. What does this mean for Secrecy looking forward to next week?
I think Secrecy just has to be, all right, you know, we probably would have rather been 2-1, maybe even a 3-0. And
I think to Secrecy, that win just means they're still in it.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean anything else to them. They're still within shooting distance of this. They have to keep it going. This could have been a lot more convincing. It probably should have been a lot more convincing, but they got the win. That's the important part. They can still fight for that playoff spot.
Yeah, top 2 probably out of the picture, or at least they shouldn't be thinking about that. They should just go 1 game at a time. Sure, if they win all 4, maybe they have a chance, but it's unlikely. So they just got to hopefully get into the playoffs, and then that 1 best-of-7 is all that matters.
We will see what happens with Secrecy as we move forward in the next week. But for this upcoming match, it's all about Penta. They dropped this series here, and they now have their biggest test upcoming yet in Pocket Aces. This squad looking monstrous after week 1. Will they continue it here in week 2? We'll find out after the break.